Hey, what is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the KindaFunny Xcast, your home for all things Xbox here at KindaFunny. Of course, I'm one of your hosts, Snowbike Mike, and today I'm joined by just one of my gaming dads, Mr. Gary Whitta, here on the show today. Gary, how are you doing?
I'm good. I'm sorry. We don't seem to be able to get both of your gaming dads together on the same show anymore. I was out last week. I was really sad, by the way, to miss last week's episode in particular, the 100th episode. But man, this time last week, I was in a bad way. I got my COVID booster and it really knocked the stuffing out of me. I was a wreck.
Gary, you know what? If you didn't bring that up, I would have forgot and given you the pass, but you did miss episode 100. So I'm happy that
about
COVID
it.
booster gave you the 1-2 punch because I wish you were there. I needed you. But we had a ton of fun. We had Alana back on, got to hang out with Major Nelson. You know how important he is to me. And of course, we also had a dope interview with Mike Brown from Forza Horizon. So you missed out on a good one, but I'm happy to have you back today, Gary. And I get to get into your history because I got an awesome show lined up for you. But many people say, Mike, what do you do when your gaming dads can't show up? Usually I panic, to be honest with you, because unlike many in the video game industry, my Rolodex of guests that I can call consists of one human being, and that's Miles Dompier from Windows Central Gaming. So I'm lucky to have Miles always able to come in and fill in and help me. So Miles, I want to give you a big thank you so much for coming in last moment. How are you today?
I am fantastic. I got the call. I was in my iron paradise, pumping iron. Mike hits me up in the DMs. One of my dads is gone. Help, please. And you know what? I'm there. When a boy needs help, I will answer the call.
Were you hanging out with the Rock in the Iron Paradise?
I had my Zoe, cracking my Zoe, getting after it, and then, amped up, ready to do some Xcast. Let's go.
You're the best, Miles. And for all of you listening out there with that fun joke, if you have some awesome video game industry peeps that you would love to see on the Xcast, let me know in the comments so I can reach out to them and beg them to be part of my Rolodex, just like Miles is, and maybe we'll see them on the show one day. But guys, I have a really awesome show planned for us today. We're going to have a fun icebreaker provided by the social team over at Xbox. We're going to talk about console wars and maybe a positive light to console wars. And then we have a really awesome feature coming to Xbox. I would say a dream feature coming to Xbox that all the Xbox gamers need to know about. But of course, we'll talk about that in just a little bit. I got to remind you that this is the KindaFunny Xcast. We post each and every Saturday at 6 a.m. West Coast, Best Coast time on youtube.com/KindaFunnyGames, roosterteeth.com, and of course on podcast services around the globe. Some big news for all of you, maybe some sad news. If you love listening to the podcast on your Saturday morning walks, maybe you're waking up and enjoying the weekend, we are now moving to record on Tuesdays, which means the Xcast will soon to post on Wednesday starting next week. So this will be your final Saturday episode. Small tier out for the weekend viewers out there because I really did enjoy posting on a Saturday. But the KindaFunny team is readjusting for the year upcoming. So that means your new KindaFunny Xcast will record on Tuesday afternoons, and we will post each and every Wednesday for all of you out there. So keep that in mind. Of course, you'll have a next episode very early on in the week, but we'll see you then. Some really awesome news that will get you excited, though. Greg's new WWE show, This Is Awesome, is now live on Peacock right now. And fame has gone to his head, folks. He's down at SummerSlam as you're listening to this, and he has demanded one simple thing from myself and all of you. Please tweet or Instagram a picture of This Is Awesome on your screen, tag at WWE, and tell them that Game Over Greggy put your butt in the seat. Make sure to go check it out. It's a big dream of Greg to host his first ever WWE show. It's a really awesome experience. You can go check it out right now. Once again, on Peacock, This Is Awesome. Then don't forget that we at KindaFunny are now Epic Games partners, which means you can use our Epic creator code KindaFunny at checkout anytime you're buying game off the Epic Games Store. Maybe you're upgrading your look in Rocket League, Fortnite, or Fall Guys. Please consider supporting the team in a brand new way. It's no additional cost to you. Use KindaFunny at checkout with your Epic creator code. And then talking about support, we want to thank the people who support us over on Patreon. If you are a Patreon for the month of July, Patreon producer, thank you so much for your support. Shout out to Fargo Brady, Delaney Twinning, James Hastings, Casey Andrew, Gordon McGuire, and Al Tribesman, the Predator, for all of your support. This week, the KindaFunny Xcast is sponsored by Chime and Me Undies, but we'll tell you all about that in just a little bit. Guys, let's jump into it. I held the intro of the show for just a little bit because we're going to do a fun icebreaker provided by our friends over at the social team on Xbox. Many of you have probably saw that. If you're in tune on Twitter, you've seen Xbox tweet out the following. Here's the icebreaker. What's your first game? The last game you've played? Your favorite game? The game you play the most? The game you want to play next? And the first game you'd show a caveman. And the fun part about this, Miles, I see you smiling, is it's our gaming dad and his two sons today, which means you're going to get a lot of new age games. And then Gary's going to hit us with some weird games like Tin Can and the Worm, or whatever the heck the game was.
The Tin Can and the Worm? The fuck is that?
Gary, you're going to say it. I know you.
I mean,
you
that's
know
what
I'm
you
saying,
guys played
Gary.
with back before, you had video games. It's tin cans and worms, Gary.
That's when I was a kid. That's all we had. Literally, was a tin can and a worm. It wasn't even a video game. That's what we had before the Atari 2600 came along.
Let's start with you, Gary, my gaming dad. Let's start it from the top. So, what is the first game you've ever played on this icebreaker?
Well, it's a good question. I started thinking about it since you mentioned that was going to be the icebreaker, and I'm not entirely sure I know the answer because you're going back like 40. I mean, I just turned 50 this past week, so you're going back 40 plus years because the first video games I played probably when I was like 7 or 8 years old. I want to say I vaguely remember playing this off-brand video game console that we got at home. It had this thing on it called Video Olympics, which is like a bunch of like very simple Pong type games. But the first one that I can be sure of would be on the Atari 2600. It would be Combat, because if you remember the old Atari 2600, it came with Combat. That was the cartridge that you got with the system. So that's the first one that I 100% can like trace back to remembering playing. So that's going to be my official answer, is Combat on the 2600.
Combat on the 2600. If you were watching over on youtube.com/KindaFunnyGames, our producer Barrett has brought up what Combat is. It is literally two tanks on a square that are just moving slowly and shooting at each other. That's what you remember, Gary?
So that was like game, if you remember, the old 2600 cartridges had like a budget. It would say like 58 different games or whatever, but they are all very basic. Like, here's another version, right? This counts as a different game. Same tanks, but now they have some walls up. But there were also versions where there were games where you could like fly in a plane. There was like aerial combat. There was tank combat. Very, very basic, very, very simple stuff. And again, this harkens back to the old days that when you would buy a console, you would actually get a pack-in cartridge to play with it. And it was really, really basic stuff. But like everybody of a certain vintage like me remembers, there you go, there's the airplanes right there, remembers Combat on the Atari 2600, because everybody had it. Like if you had a 2600, you had Combat. It came packed in with the system.
All right, let's turn over to our guests really quick, since we'll just do line by line. Miles, what was the first game you played?
The very first game I ever played was The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past. I was a wee lad. I want to say I was like 4 or 5, and I was visiting my aunt, and she had this huge poster of Hyrule on her wall. I had no idea what it was. I was just, simple child looking at the bright colors, and like, oh, what's that? And she's like, oh, that's from Zelda. And I'm like, what's Zelda? And she's like, oh, come here. And she busts out her Super Nintendo. We go in her bedroom, and I get to play The Legend of Zelda for the very first time. And that experience, like that sold me on it. And
that's one of the greatest games of all time, right? So what a game to get started with.
In hindsight, it's wild to play one of the very first games ever, or one of the best games of all time as your very first game. But yeah, that was my introduction. And since then, that Christmas, begged my parents to get a Super Nintendo so I could play that at home.
Miles, we talk a lot about gaming blind spots in the world, right? Because everybody doesn't have enough time to play every game known to man. And Barrett, I have to say it, and I'll take the flack in the combat. I'll take the flack in the comments. As many of you know, I was a Nintendo kid. I had an N64 growing up. It was our first console, but we played only third-party games on the Nintendo N64. And so I have actually never played a Zelda game all the way up until we just started. Me and Barrett played a little bit of Zelda Breath of the Wild. That is the only Zelda experience I have whatsoever. So people get crazy in the comments. Blind spot in my gaming history. Just never played that. I was more of a Rampage, Ken Griffey Jr. baseball. I'm going to talk about my first game ever, which is Gauntlet Legends, in a moment, but never played a Zelda game, Miles.
Everyone has a big blind spot. It's anything to be ashamed of. Yeah. I've never played a Final Fantasy game. We've all got one.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Final Fantasy is yours, Gary. Okay. Miles, what's your gaming blind spot? What's one of them?
On the spot, it's tough to think about, because there's one of those cheesy like gaming surveys going around on Twitter. It was like, mark a point down for every franchise that you played on this list. It was 100 of them, and I played 100 of them. So I'm trying to think, I haven't really played I played Mass Effect 1, so I haven't played Mass Effect 2 or 3, if that counts as a blind spot. I know it's a beloved one for a lot of folks, but
Yeah. That's a good poll right there, Miles. We'll take that as your gaming blind spot. You should check out
Mass
2 and
Effect
3
2
because they are
is a
very
hell of a
dope.
blind spot.
Mhm,
Definitely
that's-
another
yeah.
one of the best games ever made.
So for me, I alluded to it. Of course, my first game was Gauntlet Legends. I will never forget playing that as a family, right? When you think about the N64, plugging in all 4 controllers, it was really special to share that evening with my mom, my dad, my little brother, and myself. And it was really, really cool. I remember everyone falling asleep in the bedroom and waking up, and my mom was still playing. And if you remember, if you played a lot of Gauntlet Legends, at a certain level, you would get a familiar that was over your shoulder and would shoot. And my mom had like this dragonfly, and all we could talk about the next day was like, how did you get that? What did you do? And she stayed up all night playing Gauntlet Legends because she loved doing it with us. And so that will always be a special gaming memory. And one of my first games I ever played. Funny enough, we got that N64 because grandma bought us a PS1 and we plugged it in. We played one day of a Jurassic Park video game, and we looked at my mom and said, let's trade this in for an N64 because Blockbuster had more N64 games than PlayStation games at that time. And that changed the history of everything for me. Let's go on to the last game you played. Gary, what was the last thing you booted up?
It's either Stray on PlayStation or it's Forza Horizon 5 because the Hot Wheels DLC got me sucked back in.
Great polls right there, Gary. 2 of the 3 big games this week. What did you think about Stray?
I mean, we're not done with it yet. We're only a few hours, I know, a couple of hours in. I know it's not that long, but we're still, I think, in the early going. I absolutely love it. It's going to be on my game of the year list for sure. I think it's a little mini masterpiece. Absolutely love it.
You play Stray at all, Miles?
No, I had every intention to play Stray. Then Multiverses hit, and for whatever reason, that game ended up just being exactly what I wanted. So I've been playing Multiverses every single day this week. So
I saw Jez Corden, who's been on the show as well, tweeting about that today, saying, "God damn it, I wasn't expecting to play Multiverse. I didn't think it was going to be anything, and I've been playing it all damn day." So it seems like it might have the goods to get some people sucked into it.
Yeah,
as dumb as a concept as it is, like maybe the core gameplay is actually pretty good.
And that's what I thought. When I love platform fighters. I've played them all, the good, the bad, the ugly. If there's a platform fighter, I'm there. I'm playing it. I'm checking it out. So when they announced Ultra Instinct Shaggy versus Batman in the reveal trailer, and it was a free-to-play platform fighter, I was like, oh man, here we go again. Because I played Brawlhalla, didn't get sucked in. So my expectations for Multiverses were low. I was going to play it. There was no doubt I was going to play it. But I did not expect it to come out and really cater to that competitive audience. Love Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. Played some competitive stuff back when that first launched. And this game is clearly made by people who love competitive multiplayer. They took all the spammy, cheesy mechanics that they clearly hate from Super Smash Brothers and just built an entire game around that. So there's no grabbing. You could air dodge twice in the air. You can recover in the air and then attack more. So if you like the competitive Super Smash Bros. Scene, this is a game that's just built with that in mind.
Do you think that Nintendo looks at something like Multiverses and looks like that Nickelodeon one that came out not long ago and just thinks these motherfuckers? Because like they're so clearly Smash Bros. Clones, right? Like it's not like there are other entries in a similar genre. They are Smash Bros. Clones, right? I think we can all just admit that.
Yeah, I do wonder, what they think. Because, yeah, like you said, this is clearly, we love this formula. Nintendo is not going to be updating it or giving us new content, so we're going to do our own thing. We're going to take a piece of that, see if we can chip away at their market share. And nobody has successfully done it yet. Nobody, in my eyes, has really gotten close for the most part. But Multiverses, I would say, is the closest anyone's gotten to making a platform fighter that feels almost as good as Smash. I'm not going to go as far as to say it does feel as good, but damn, it feels really, really good to play.
Thing is, you got to be a company that has that deep bench roster, right? Like Nintendo can do it. Obviously, the Warner Brothers mega corporation can do it because they own so many franchises. I guess Disney could do one, but there's only a handful of companies out there that can really assemble a roster like that.
Xbox, what's up? When we get in the Xbox mascot fighter?
Only a matter of time.
Yeah, only a matter of time, right?
Call Bandai. Let's get it going. Come on. Let's go.
Miles, for you, what was the last game you just played?
Well, I talked about Multiverses, but outside of that, when I went to Twitter and engaged with the marketing tweet on the Xbox side, Live Alive had been the last game I played, and that was a game that I had heard about for a long time. Before it had this global release, it was obscure Japan only RPG for Super Nintendo. Um, but I had never played it. I had imported stuff like Mother 3, fan translations of that, but I had never played Live Alive. So I got to re-experience that, and that remake is amazing. So really, really love that as well. So Multiversus and Live Alive have kind of been consuming my last week.
That's killer right there. All right, good to know. Of course, if you know me, last game I played Gary Whitta was Fall Guys. I can't.
I know. I saw you playing it the other night. Yeah, of course.
And it's just one of those. I got to give a big credit to them going free to play and actually really pushing out content here since it did that, about a month or two ago, right? I've been really impressed. They have a lot of fun weekly challenges. They keep the map rotation fresh and fun. They have a lot of cool skins coming into the storefront now that, of course, they're really pushing microtransactions. So I got to say, as of right now, I'm really pleased with the free-to-play new wave of Fall Guys. And I think you see it a lot with content creators, a lot of people on TikTok and on Twitch. It's kind of getting that resurgence after the 2 years of Fall Guys that me and Gary really went hard on. It's happy to see a lot more people playing it thanks to cross-play and beyond. So shout out to Fall Guys for just getting some new and another wind and more fun for sure. Gary, what is the game you played the most of?
Jeez, that's a hard one. I think if I have to really think about it, it's probably Tetris in all its various forms over the years. I have so many hours. In fact, you could probably just take the Game Boy version from 1989 alone. And if you just had an accounting of just the hours played on that one format, on that one platform, that would probably be in my top 5. But if you add up everything from like 1989 Game Boy all the way up to Tetris Effect Connected, like every different iteration of Tetris, I don't think anything else could even come close. And then after that, maybe World of Warcraft, because there was a few years when I had a very serious World of Warcraft problem.
Don't let my buddy Washy hear this, but I'm gonna go out there, Miles, because we're getting loose today. Okay, we're getting loose. I hate Tetris. Okay, I hate Tetris. I'm starting this off right now because here's my issue with Tetris Connected. Right, is they got this dope soundtrack, incredible visuals, and every time I want the beat to drop, Gary, it never drops because I'm not linking the combos. I'm not doing it good enough.
That sounds like a user error, Mike.
And I need the beat to drop just so I can have fun with it, Gary.
So that sounds like an issue with that sounds like an issue with Tetris Effect Connected. Like, you don't hate Tetris, like just Tetris overall, surely not. Who doesn't like Tetris?
I just need the music to drop, Gary, or else I would have a blast playing Tetris Connected if the music just dropped instead of me being dependent on linking combos. That's my big critique of that game.
That's your incentive to get better, though. You get the musical rewards if you step up your game.
I'm not good enough. Miles, what is the game you played the most of?
See, this is tough. The game that I think I've probably played the most of, but we didn't really have gameplay trackers back in those days, Diablo 2. I think I have to have put at least 2,000 hours into Diablo 2. It came out, I was in, not quite a teen. I think I was like 10, 11. So I had all the free time in the world to just play Diablo 2. Dial-up internet, baby, back in the heydays of online gaming, and I was there. I was going so hard on Diablo 2. Outside of that, looking at my Xbox playtime, Sea of Thieves and Smite, I think I've reached 1,000 hours on both of those. So, yeah,
that is terrific, Miles. I love hearing that.
Really quick, Mike, just because I don't think a game is still topped this. Back in the day, playing this on PS2, playing the Galactic Conquest mode over and over and over again. Battlefront 2, the original one, I think is probably still my most played game of all time. Hundreds of hours into Galactic Conquest with friends and having them over and stuff like that. God,
what a great game. Really quick on the panel, and Barrett as well. Do we think we'll get another one of those? Of course, with Disney and Lucas and everyone kind of expanding the sandbox and letting more people play in it, and what happened after the last one, do we think we'll get another one of those? Because that is a really special game.
I want one bad, but
yeah. My feeling is not. EA's deal with Disney ends next year, right? It was 2013 to 2023. It was a 10-year deal, so it's up next year. And Battlefront 2 obviously played so badly for them with the whole microtransaction scandal that it even kind of was knocking on the doors of Disney, like the upper echelons of Disney were getting involved saying, fix this, because this is reflecting poorly on the brand. My guess is that given that the way that you monetize shooters now has become so predatory and so kind of microtransaction-y that my guess is that Disney, Lucasfilm, whoever, would probably not want to take any risks going down that road again. So my instinct tells me I don't think you're going to see another Star Wars, but maybe another like a first person, like a Dark Forces. Obviously Jedi Fallen Order's been very successful. Maybe like a story campaign type first person shooter. In fact, there may well be something like that in development right now. But like another multiplayer Warzone type thing, again, given where the market has gone in terms of how you monetize those games, I don't see it.
Yeah, I think especially with like them continuing to feed like the Fortnite pit, right, with all of their crossovers and stuff like that. I feel like maybe they don't feel the need to really tread into that market whatsoever of multiplayer.
It's a shame because my understanding was that by the end of its life, and Battlefront 2 is still going, but they're not really supporting it anymore. They kind of just said, it's there, but we're not going to do any more updates or anything. Yeah, I think it actually got to a point where it was quite good, right? People were liking it. It's such a rocky first year.
And shout out to the dog fighting from Battlefront 2. I always loved the space fighting in that second one. It felt really good. Mike, I think for the future, I think their best step from here would probably just to be to port the original 2 to other things outside of Steam, because I think as of right now, I think Steam is the only place you can play the original 2.
Good to know. Good to know. For me, it was tough, right? Like Miles said, there was a lot of games back in the day we couldn't keep track of hours on. So I'm sure I lost a lot of hours. I know for sure when I think back, Perfect Dark 0, Halo 2, Halo 3, you got a lot of my hours. So shout out to those games. But in recent memory, right now that we have hours and minutes being tracked, which might be a bad thing in all honesty, because right now Fall Guys is about to hit 500 on my Steam tracker. Ooh, and then over on, of course, Activision Blizzard side, Call of Duty Warzone, I have human days upon of hours. It is bad, weeks possibly. And I love Call of Duty Warzone so much. I just love the competitive nature. I love dropping in and it being unique each and every time you play. I love learning maps. I've really found within myself, looking back on my history, I love learning the maps and knowing the shortcuts. I think in Grand Theft Auto 3 through San Andreas, I could probably draw those maps from memory right now. And then Warzone, being the commander and telling you to go left, right, center through that door. I absolutely love and adore that. So that's just the perfect mix of everything I could ever ask for from a game. So probably played too much Warzone, but I'll play more of it for sure. Guys, up next is the game you want to play next. When you look at the upcoming slate of releases, near or far, what is the big title you want to play next, Gary Whitta?
GTA 6.
Oh, wow. Okay. Are you excited that it could possibly be going to Miami?
Is there a rumor? The only thing that I heard was the kind of the definite, well, not definite, but like the kind of solid thing that I heard was coming out of that Jason Schreier reporting how they were going to have like a Latina playable character in the new one. It's the first time there's been like a female playable character in a modern GTA game. That it was indication of how Rockstar's kind of changed its culture, and they're trying to be kind of more diverse and inclusive and doing stuff that isn't, some of the kind of the more old-fashioned stuff that was typically associated with the GTA games. But regardless of any of that, I honestly don't kind of care where it is. I think I've said before, like, I like the idea of Vice City. The idea that there's going to be a kind of Latina protagonist maybe suggests, Miami fits in with that Vice City, that Miami vibe. So I just want to get my hands on it. I'm trying to think of something a little bit closer. Like what am I immediately more excited about? But if there's no time horizon, if it's just a game that we definitely know is coming, even though it may be way off in the distance, there's nothing that even comes close to GTA 6.
I like that. Miles, for you, what's on the horizon that we got to play?
A little bit closer in a similar vein, I'm excited about Saints Row. I went to a preview a couple weeks ago, got to play over 4 hours of it. Always been a big Saints Row fan because it's a parody of a parody, and it's just dumb. It was the first game I remember playing where I looked at the ragdoll and was like, this is a selling point for me. Like, I want more games to have ragdoll on this level. Insurance fraud. I spent hours and hours.
That was always fun.
Diving in front of cars. That was the game for me. Like, just the stupid chaos of Saints Row, and they fed into it and they built on it. And 1 through 3 I love. Saints Row 4, I think they went too far. Once you became like a Super Saiyan, you could fly around.
Oh no, that's what I loved about it.
Yeah. It's a conflicting thing for me because it was fun. It was undeniably fun, but you can't go anywhere from there. They went too ridiculous, so they couldn't do a sequel because it was just so chaotic. So they kind of stripped things back and took it back to basics with this reboot. But that being said, the physics engine of this is so good. So good. You can run over a fire hydrant. Water is shooting out of the fire hydrant. You can then drive your car over that, fly into the air, and then it becomes Tony Hawk. Once your vehicle's in the air, you have free range to spin, do backflips, barrel rolls, all of this chaos. So yeah, the physics engine of Saints Row has me so excited. And I just want a big, dumb open world game right now. That's what I'm really in the mood for.
Yeah.
And after playing Saints Row, give it to me. And it's only like 3 weeks away. We're coming up really quick on Saints Row.
I'm really glad that the impressions that came out of the event you're referring to have been so positive. That 4-hour thing, I know people are saying they're really enjoying it. I've been on the fence about it because, I love Saints Row and I love Saints Row 4. But you're right, Saints Row 4 in particular was an exercise in how far could we take this concept, right? And they took it right to the edge. There was literally nowhere else to go. And so I understand why we're not getting Saints Row 5 in that vein, because you could not go to another level. They maxed out, right? And so they had to kind of reinvent it. And so when I saw the trailer for the new one, I was like, I don't know, this is never going to recapture the vibe that I got from the old ones that was so ridiculous and so silly. We've talked about it before, but I think it was Saints Row 3. What's the one where you do the drop out of the helicopter with Kanye West in the background? It's just so good. Some of the all-time greatest gaming memories, so ridiculous. And I feel like if this new one can capture just a bit of that, I'll be very, very happy, because man, I had some great memories with those Saints Row games back in the day.
I love that pull, Miles, because now you got me thinking of Hall of Meat from Skate 3 and hucking your body and ragdolling for points. I think of Amp 3 when you were on the toboggan and the sleds hucking your body. I love a good ragdoll, and I love getting points for that. So shout out to that pull right there. Of course, to round us out, the game that I'm looking forward to play next is actually right around the corner. 2 Point Campus is almost here, and I cannot wait to jump into that. Big fan of 2 Point Hospital. I love all these simulation games. I really, really enjoy it. And so I can't wait for 2 Point Campus. Really looking forward to that. And I believe it's on Game Pass as well. I know it got delayed and it kind of went out of my mind. So I'm looking forward to about next week or the week after for 2 Point Campus. Guys, let's finish it off because there were some crazy reactions. Our good friend Phil Spencer, friend of the show, put out a tweet as well to reply to the fun icebreaker question from social media. And the one that everybody got stuck on was the game he wants to play next, God of War Ragnarok. Gary Whitta, say it ain't so. You see your two gaming sons. We can't believe it. We can't believe it. He's gone to the other side and wants to play a Sony game. What's up with that, Gary Whitta?
Well, why not? And wasn't it, who was it who came back from the Sony side? Wasn't it Cory Barlog and came back and said he wants to play Starfield? So there's a lot of kumbaya. There's a lot of, the console wars are over in terms of, the industry leaders are all saying how excited they are about to play each other's games. And that's how it should be. We would I'm on here on an Xbox podcast, and I'm happy to, I'll tell you that one of my favorite games that I played in the last couple of weeks is Stray, which is right now a PlayStation 5 and PC exclusive. I hope it comes to the Xbox. I hope that whatever that exclusive window on the PlayStation is comes to an end and we get to play it on Xbox as well, because everyone should play that game. But yeah, I'm glad we've moved past that. This is an Xbox podcast, but I love the fact that we're not, we're not here as like kind of platform warriors or, kind of platform kind of cheerleaders. We love Xbox, so we're here, but when when Xbox does things that we don't like, we call it out. And when other platforms do things that we do like, we celebrate that too. I like that we're kind of above the fray in that regard.
Yeah, another good one that I saw today was Ed Boon, of course, your Mortal Kombat man.
Mm-hmm.
He tweeted out, "I can't wait to play Street Fighter 6." So a big old smile to see the fun, the back and forth. And Miles, this is what we've always talked about. This is what you and the team over at Windows Central Gaming talk about. You guys talk about just loving games, no matter where you're playing, no matter what ecosystem you're tied to, just playing games and having fun. And so when you saw the reaction, I mean, kind of expected on social media, right, Miles, that people would get all uptight and lose their minds over this answer?
Yeah, it's, again, Gary's joking about the kumbaya, and as cheesy as it as cheesy as it sounds, a lot of the people invested in the gaming industry are there because they love video games. And it's not so much that, I work for Xbox, so I'm only going to be loud and excited about Xbox games. So it's cool to see figures like Phil Spencer come out and say, yeah, God of War looks rad, because let's be real, God of War does look rad. It's going to be a huge game. It's going to be a big deal. And I find it a little disingenuous when people are so fixated on their little bubbles. I have an Xbox podcast as well. Anytime I talk about Nintendo, somebody's in the comments or chat going, boo, stop it. Nintendo's for babies. And I'm like, come on, really? Is that where we're at? Nintendo, especially this year, if you were ignoring everything Nintendo is doing this year, I really don't get it. I really
honestly,
don't.
Miles, I think Nintendo games for babies and Sony games. Come on, those are for soy boys with this Kratos being a good dad and good parent. Come on, guys, stick up for your console. Console wars forever. Let's go Xbox.
I just want to say I'm glad that we at least went 100 episodes without anyone saying the word soy boy on this show.
We went 100, Garrett. Now put one on
101. It had to happen.
Oh my gosh, so funny because. Yeah, that's what the Twitter comments look like on response to Phil's tweet, right? And it was great to see the response from so many others, right? Gary brought up Cory Barlog. I talked about Ed Boon. Last week, we had Major Nelson on the show, right? One of the faces of Xbox for decades now. And he's talking about having fun no matter where you want to play those games and just having a good time. And I think it really goes to show even the people making your favorite games, they enjoy games just as much as you. And they want to play every game. They want to play on any console. It's not restricted to just, hey, I make Sony games. I can only play Sony for the rest of my life. There's a lot of games out there. And hopefully each and every person that listens to our podcast, listen to KindaFunny or beyond, enjoys any kind of game, because that's what it's all about, is just coming together around this fun hobby that we all know and love. And it is really nice to see those faces tweet out positive stuff about the other side, right? Because we always kind of get locked in on social media, more specifically, of just a lot of negativity. So remember, there's a lot of positivity out there, and there's a lot of great games to play. And as you said, Gary and Miles, God of War looks dope. I can't wait to jump into that one. That's going to be a ton of fun and see where they take that story, because just like Halo, when we look over here at Halo Infinite, right, that Sony Santa Monica team had to reinvent God of War. They had to take God of War from the kind of bro hack and slash to more of a, hey, can we make this a more grounded story? Can we get more people to connect with it? And they seem to have done it. In 2018, it was a smash hit, and I think they'll continue off of that in this next one. I can't wait to see it. And we look over at Halo doing the same thing. Halo Infinite story, and that campaign is a blast. And it's an awesome moving story about Chief and finding humanity. And I really, really liked that. So I can't wait to build off of that one for sure. Let's talk about console wars, but in a different light, and how they can kind of be good, because competition always raises the bar and demands excellence from both sides. And this week, Peter Moore actually talked about console wars and his view and part in it when he used to work at Xbox, and of course, at EA as well. So Peter Moore was on My Other Passion podcast, hosted by Ernest Baker, who had a good talk with Peter Moore about gaming in his time at Xbox and EA. Of course, Peter spoke about console wars, and I'm going to go right to IGN, who has a great quote, thanks to Matt Kim over there for his article. It says, while the games industry has shifted towards a more unified tone, during Moore's tenure, the console wars were arguably an even bigger part of the games industry, something Moore says was encouraged at Xbox. Quote, we encourage the console wars not to create division, but to challenge each other. And when I say each other, I mean Microsoft and Sony. If Microsoft hadn't stuck the course after the Xbox, after the Red Ring of Death, gaming would be a poorer place for it. You wouldn't have the competition you have today. Of course, we talk about console wars in the light of console warriors being really negative and being mean and awful on social media. But there's also the opposite side of these companies competing against one another, learning from one another, and elevating one another to give the best for, of course, the consumers, us, the gamers on this side. And Gary, you've been around for a long time. You've seen this actually take place. What do you think about competition within the games industry? Is that the right way to look at it, like Peter Moore said back then?
Well, I mean, these are, the console business is a business, right? So there's obviously going to be competition, right? You've got multi-billion-dollar companies like Nintendo, Sony, and Microsoft, and they're in it for the long haul, and they want to make money. They want to win. They want to make money. They want to maximize shareholder value. So there's plenty of competition going on behind the scenes. I guarantee you, whether they say it or not, they're all in their boardrooms going like, how do we, get the drop on our competitors? But that doesn't mean that it needs to be played out in a performative way in the context of a war. Like the old days of like of companies like taking digs at each other. Sega does what Nintendo don't, and like that was all very funny back in the day. But I personally think those days are past. Peter's great. Peter's a friend. Don't forget, Peter also helped launch the Dreamcast at Sega. I mean, he's done it all. But I think the time in which he was in the business and very prevalent to those companies, I do think we've moved on. I think, back in the day we had, and it was fun. But I think what we see now is very much exemplified by the likes of Phil Spencer going out of his way to highlight the fact that gaming is great no matter where you play. And and I remember when he was on Animal Talking back in the day, he was talking about like the PlayStation 5, which actually launched it. He was like, man, it looks like a great system. He wasn't trying to do it down or anything, because I think he understands that, like, as much as he's an important voice in the industry, whether he says that he likes the PlayStation 5 or not, it's not really going to move the needle. It doesn't really matter. So if you're going to have a public stance, have a positive one, right? It doesn't have to be kumbaya, but nor does it have to be, this very bitter, constantly kind of tearing lumps out of each other. It's kind of like in politics, right? You don't like to see negative campaigning. Like, focus on what's good about your campaign. Focus on what's good about your platform, why the Xbox is good, as opposed to why the PlayStation is bad, or even why one is better than the other. And the problem with it is, I think no matter what tone the industry leaders say, I don't know if that's ever going to trickle down to the user bases. Like every now and again, I do this. I'll click on an Xbox tweet, and what's the first thing you see? A bunch of fucking brain deads going, "Oh, PlayStation better, PlayStation better, PlayStation better." And you see it on the other side as well. I'll click on a PlayStation tweet, Xbox better, Xbox better. Like, who does that?
Are
like,
they
who is
wrong
that
though,
dumb?
Gary? Are they wrong?
Well, which one? I mean, what, both of them? They can't both be wrong. I don't know. I don't know why, and we've talked about this before, but I don't know why people that play console games feel the need to kind of have this part-time job as an evangelist for the platform that they're like. I understand it. You buy a system, you want to feel like you made the right decision. So, again, it's very tribal, whether the sports team that you support or the console that you own or the gang that you run with, it's tribal. You want to feel like, you picked the right team, right? You made the right choice. You're on the winning team. I understand that it's a human instinct to feel that way, but I guarantee you, even if you only had one console, we live in such a golden age of gaming. There's so much good stuff to go around. If you only own a Nintendo Switch, if you only own a PlayStation, if you only own an Xbox, you're having a good time either way. Like, there's no bad choices in gaming right now, or a PC. It's all good.
Really well said there, Gary. And Miles, I want to continue to shift the conversation. I want to continue to talk about this competition. As you know, you play Nintendo, you play Sony, you've been all over the place, Miles. I want to talk about competition and what kind of competition Xbox is feeling from Sony and Nintendo and other spaces around the gaming industry. What is making them get better? What do you see on the opposite sides of the ecosystems that are maybe elevating Xbox in a certain way? What are things you like from Sony, Nintendo, and the PC world that Xbox is probably feeling that pressure and wants to elevate?
Yeah, we're in a very interesting time in the gaming industry, because if you look at everyone, you look at, like Gary said, PC, you look at Nintendo, you look at PlayStation, you look at Xbox, everyone really is bringing it right now. And the old saying, competition breeds innovation, is totally true. If someone is doing something better than you and you have a business that's in the same space, you're not going to be able to stay successful if you just accept that as the reality. And Xbox, this has been talked about as ad nauseum, but they learned a lot of hard lessons with the launch of the Xbox One, because they came from this position where they were the underdog. The OG Xbox came out and people were talking about, why on earth is Microsoft making a console? What are they doing? And then they got some momentum. And then into the Xbox 360, despite the red ring of death, they had a ton of momentum, and they were able to come essentially from out of nowhere and be a premier figure in the industry, and that was huge. And then we saw that kind of dwindle. And then PlayStation, who was used to being the leading force with the PlayStation 2, we saw a similar effect with the transition into PlayStation 3, and that pendulum, we see it shift back and forth constantly. And when we look at Xbox right now, they understand that PlayStation is delivering great games. They understand that it takes a long time to make really great games. So, over the course of the last 4, 5, 6 years, we've seen Xbox shift their focus to the platform, Xbox Game Pass, Xbox Live, their ecosystem, and supporting, where you want to play and support and having that value proposition. So Xbox Game Pass, I feel, was just completely born out of a position of, hey, how do we have a differentiator? We're not going to have the biggest and best games immediately right now, but we want to work towards that. We want that to be the reality of our future. And I think that's where stuff like Xbox Game Pass comes out and says, no matter who you are, if you prefer PlayStation, you can look at Xbox Game Pass and say, that is a really good deal. That makes me interested in the Xbox ecosystem. And as we've seen with the console sales, people are investing in that. They're investing in that strategy, investing in that future, seeing Microsoft invest money into Xbox game studios and build those up. And again, a lot of people still criticize Xbox and Microsoft because they haven't, in some people's eyes, delivered that big must-play title. The Halo Infinite, great launch, but a lot of people are dragging that right now. A lot of negative conversations surrounding Halo Infinite, but Microsoft understands why Nintendo, why PlayStation are successful, and they are basically building an entire ecosystem and infrastructure to be on that level. And in some ways, when we look at the platform itself, supersede that. And it's going to get to the point where once Xbox Game Pass hits these big metrics, and once Xbox has games like Starfield and those must-play games in a subscription service day one, you're not going to be able to sit by and say, we don't have to do that, or we don't need to have anything that is that value proposition. So you're going to see PlayStation and Nintendo transition and try to figure out how to have a business model that mirrors that in some capacity. So yeah, overall, really exciting time. And Microsoft, has made some really good, impressive moves, but they still have a little ways to go, I think, in terms of that first-party output, which, as we've heard time and time again, is the biggest criticism of the platform.
Yeah, that point you just made about competition breeds innovation is a very good point. And I think it's like, for example, one not terribly innovative, but one example of that, how basically competition compels the different players in the space to improve their own offerings is, for example, if Game Pass didn't exist, do you think Sony would have made those improvements to PlayStation Plus? Almost certainly not, right? But I guarantee you what was happening behind the scenes at Sony was someone high up at Sony was like, my God, I'm sick of people saying Game Pass, Game Pass, Game Pass. This fucking Paris Lily guy going on all the time about how it's the best value in gaming. What is no one's saying PS Plus, and people at Sony are like, yeah, because it kind of sucks. Like, well, we got to get it better. Like we can't let them keep clobbering this over there with Game Pass. Let's make it better. And again, we can argue about like how good the new offering is with the premium and extra tiers, but it's certainly better than it was before. And I don't think Sony would have felt compelled to do that if they had a monopoly in that space, right? It was the fact that Sony came up with such a compelling offering with the Game Pass that Microsoft came up with such a good offering with Game Pass. Sony was like, we got to get better too, right? And every company is watching what everyone else is doing and forcing themselves, keeping each other's feet to the fire.
Yeah, one thing I really like that I notice in the competition wise when we talk about it is watching Xbox right now on PC, right? As someone who plays a lot of games on PC, you look at the different PC storefronts that we all go through, right? The Steam page, Epic Games launcher, EA Origins, the Activision Blizzard launcher. One thing I think you see big strides is Xbox really retooling and working on that Xbox app, right? What does that need to look like? How does that need to run? And it is night and day better than what it was. I think they need to still make great strides forward to really elevate that for the PC audience. There's a lot of work to still be done, but you can tell that when they went over there and they said, we're going to plant our flag here, having day one games for Xbox Game Pass on PC, they clearly have said, man, we need to elevate this. And I like that they're working on that. I think there's a lot of room for improvement and things to continue, but it is nice to see, right? Because that is elevating their the competition's elevating them to be better over on that side of things, which is great. Guys,
absolutely.
It's been a lot of fun talking about competition, talking about console warriors being jabronis. Don't be a jabroni out there, please. Remember that. Just have fun playing games. Don't you be that jabroni on social media. I don't want to see it. And of course, having a good time with the Xbox Icebreaker. But we have some really cool games coming our way. Actually, some incredible indie games coming our way, thanks to Annapurna Publishing. But I want to tell you guys all about that right after a word from our sponsors.
Are people still trying to make plans with you this summer as if you aren't booked and busy already? You're just gonna have to tell them to try again in the fall. You've got pool days, pride parades, bachelor parties, and beach vacations waiting for you, because when you're living your best life, the last thing you wanna worry about is butt sweat. I'm Greg Miller, and my butt never sweats because I wear MeUndies. You've heard it a million times. I like MeUndies so much with my first pair, I bought a whole bunch more and threw away the rest of my underwear. They're the best. MeUndies has the lightest, most breathable fabrics to keep you cool and comfortable wherever you go. From undies to bralettes wallets to socks to loungewear to swimwear, you can find something for all your plans. MeUndies also releases new prints all the time, like their limited edition Pride collection. Find your ultimate summer comfort in sizes extra small to 4XL. MeUndies has a great offer for my listeners. For any first-time purchasers, you get 15% off. For a limited time, if you sign up for their free-to-join MeUndies membership, you get 25% off your first membership item. To get 15% off your first order, 25% off your first membership item, and 100% satisfaction guaranteed, go to MeUndies.com/kindafunny. That's MeUndies.com/kindafunny. No one likes waiting on a paycheck, especially when you've got bills due. Good thing there's Chime. Now you can get your paycheck up to 2 days earlier with direct deposit. That's up to 2 more days to save, pay bills, and generally just feel good about your money situation. But Chime is about more than just getting paid early. It's also an award-winning mobile app, checking account, debit card, and optional savings account. So what are you waiting for? Hopefully not your paycheck. Get started with Chime today. Applying for a free account takes less than 2 minutes. Get started at chime.com/KFgames. That's chime.com/KFgames. Banking services and debit card provided by the Bancorp Bank or Stride Bank NA. Members FDIC. Early access to direct deposit funds depends on your payer.
Welcome back, everybody. Gary Whitta and Miles Dompier. Of course, just this week, we had the second annual Annapurna Interactive Showcase, a nice little summer show from the Annapurna publishing team on all their awesome indies that they're providing out there. And if you missed it, it's a great 25-minute watch. You can go catch our live reactions, youtube.com/kindafunnygames. If you know anything about Annapurna, you know that those indies are beautiful. They're different. They're very unique. And it's a whole lot of fun to see what those teams are whipping up, because they do a great job spotlighting the hardworking men and women and human beings creating the games that we love at an indie level. And so we actually, during the showcase, got to see a lot of games coming to Xbox and Game Pass here that Xbox gamers should be excited for to check out. So I'm going to go off the list that you need to know about, because I counted 8 Xbox games that people need to know about. And then I'm going to give you a couple of deep dives into a couple of special ones that I think you guys, Gary and Miles, will really like. So up first was Thirsty Suitors, which is coming to Xbox Game Pass. Bounty Star, The Morose Tale of Graveyard Clem, coming to Game Pass. Outer Wilds is getting a free next-gen update September 15th. The Pathless is coming to Xbox this winter. Maquette is coming to Game Pass this winter. Solar Ash is coming to Game Pass December 6th. What Remains of Edith Finch has a free next-gen update that's going to go 4K 60 frames per second out now. And then Flock, Gather Your Friends is coming to Xbox Game Pass at a date to be announced later on. But guys, some really cool ones, of course. If you've been keeping up with the indie scene and what Annapurna puts out, you probably know about the Pathless, Solar Ash, and Maquette that are already out, and they are now coming over to the Xbox ecosystem, which is really, really special and exciting. But Miles, I wanted to tell you about a game, because I have a second one just special for Gary that I know he's going to love. But this one's for you, Miles, because I know you love wacky, you love different, and you love games that take kind of chances on being a little bit wild and different out there. And that's Thirsty Suitors, which is coming from Outer Loop Games, the creators of Falcon Age. The write-up from IGN goes like this. Thirsty Suitors is an upcoming RPG that mixes elements of dating sims, turn-based battles, and skateboarding mechanics. Play as Jala, a young woman who returns home for her sister's wedding and is forced to confront and reconcile with her multiple exes, all while managing her family's expectations and repairing relationships with her friends and relatives. Miles, we have the gameplay up right now if you're watching on YouTube. It is very colorful, it's vibrant, it's different, and it blends a lot of gameplay elements. Like you saw the combo-based skateboarding mechanics, you saw turn-based battles, and a little bit of dating sims where you're going to have some fun dialogue options. What do you think about this one, Miles?
This one has been on my radar since the reveal trailer. I think it was last year. I forget exactly where we saw the big reveal for this. But yeah, I'm a big fan of weird video games. Thirsty Suitors has some huge Scott Pilgrim versus the World vibes.
Oh,
we talk about the RPG, going back and confronting your Xboxes. You give me an RPG with skateboarding mechanics, I'm going to play it regardless of the quality. But knowing this team, knowing this publisher in particular, clearly they see something special in it. And like you said, it's bright, it's beautiful, it's vivid, and most importantly, it's not afraid to be weird. And I love that we live in a time where there are publishers who foster that, support that, and help get weird games out to more people.
I love getting weird. And what wowed me was the skateboarding mechanics, Miles. You know, we saw it. It was like the fun dating sim, and then they talked about turn-based battles, and I was like, all right, you got me for a little bit. Let's see what's up. And then the moment that they started skateboarding, I was like, all right, I guess I'm going to play this game, because if you put skateboarding in a game, I'm instantly jumping in. Gary, I saved a special one for you because, of course, recently on twitch.tv/Gary Witta, you debuted Gundog, your new awesome audiobook that you have been sharing with the whole entire world about a lady and her mech going to war and saving the day. Now, Gary, this one's for you. Bounty Star, The Morose Tale of Graveyard Clem. Dino God Studio revealed the game that it's been working on as at last, called Bounty Star, The Morose Tale of Graveyard Clem.
I see a mech.
It appears to be an Old West-style shooter where the main character is a woman who pilots a cool mech, almost Titanfall-esque, and is all set to the music by Brothers Edge. Gary, this is you. This is what you've been working on. What do you think about this one?
These sons of bitches. No,
I
that's
knew
funny.
you'd say that. Yeah, what do you think about this one, Gary? I mean, a little mech combat for you. Do you dig on this? Are you digging
No,
this?
I'm well. I mean, their mech is much smaller than mine. I'm not going to get into like a measuring contest or anything.
Okay.
But no, it looks cool. Listen, the whole reason why I created Gundog is because I love mechs, and I don't think there's enough like giant mechs out there in our pop culture space these days. So I'm happy to see anything else out like that out there, kind of raising awareness of mechs and mech related issues. Absolutely, why not? It looks cool.
Yeah, it does look really cool. And this is one that I smiled at. I loved the bright colors of the desert really popping right there. And I loved seeing the mech, right? I don't think we got that one Gundam game coming around the corner, right? But we don't get enough mech love since Titanfall 2. So
What's it
bring
called
back the
again?
mechs. This is called Bounty Star, The Morose Tale of Graveyard Clem for you to go wish list.
All right, I'm going to go check it out.
And that is also coming to Xbox Game Pass. So keep an eye out for that one. But Miles and Gary, some of these games are so far away. And I know a lot of our audience is looking for games to play right now while we're kind of in the dry spell of the end of summer into the holiday period. And there's a lot of games that people might have missed, some great hidden gems that people might have missed. And I'm not talking about the Elden Rings or the giant games that all of you think of. I want to talk about some of the games that people might have missed during 2022. And so I've challenged both of you to go into your game catalog, your collection, to tell me a couple of games that you really, really love right now. And Miles, I'm going to let you kick us off since you're the guest. What's a special hidden gem of 2022?
Well, circle back to the Annapurna thing real quick. With one of the things that they announced at the showcase was What Remains of Edith Finch getting its 4K 60 FPS update. That game is available in Xbox Game Pass right now. If you haven't played that game, it is one of the most powerful, impactful video games that I have ever played in my life. It's roughly 2.5 hours long. I played it in one sitting, and I have never cried so hard watching or interacting with any piece of media in my life. It is a devastating experience. I'm super excited about the updates for it, but I don't think I can emotionally bring myself to replay it. But if you haven't had it, please take 2.5 hours and check it out, because it is such a beautiful, important game. So that newer shout, not out this year, but that is definitely worth checking out. Another one, a deeper cut, Record of Low DOS War, Deedlit in Wonder Labyrinth.
Stop, Miles. You just made up names.
Okay,
You made up
come on.
words. Stop.
It rolls off the tongue one more time. Record of Low DOS War, Deedlit in Wonder Labyrinth is
That's an SEO
Thank-
nightmare, the
Thank
title of that
God
game.
the YouTube algorithm was able to fill in the rest of that, because I would not have been able to type that out.
This game came out of nowhere. It launched in Xbox Game Pass. I'm a big fan of Metroidvanias. Love some good pixel art. I looked at this and I said, okay, this looks like a Symphony of the Night ripoff. I'll give it a shot. I'll check it out. I dove in. Apparently, it's part of a long-running book series or comic series. Haven't read a single one of them, so I had no idea what was going on in this world, this story. But the gameplay, it is so good. It's got some really clever elevations of Metroidvania's platforming. It's got some amazing elemental systems to it. It's about 5 or 6 hours long. So again, another really nice bite-sized one. But I came away so stoked that I gave that one a shot.
It does look very Symphony of the Night, doesn't it?
Clearly some big inspirations from that. Great boss fights, great RPG progression, and you can, if you really want a 1,000 gamer score, you could probably get it in under 7 hours. It's a really short experience.
Ooh.
But if you like Metroidvanias, definitely worth giving that a shot.
That's a great poll there, Miles. That's an Andy Cortez joint if I've ever seen one. So I got to share that with Andy. And also, I want to give you a big shout out right there for the What Remains of Edith Finch. I've never played that experience, and I needed to know that time length. So now, Miles, thanks to that free update and it being out right now, I'm jump into that maybe tonight or tomorrow. So thanks for that one, Miles. I like that. Gary Whitta, what are some hidden gems that I need to know about?
So a couple of things. We talked before the show about Power Wash Simulator, and I was saying, well, I don't really want to make that my pick because like everyone knows about that now, right? Like it was in early access for a while, but now that it's 1.0 on PC, and especially now that it's on Xbox Game Pass, everyone's playing it. I just want to remind people, I was playing Power Wash Simulator before it was cool. I was playing.
Here we go.
Right,
Here we go, Gary.
I got
Yeah,
I got a lot of hours into that game. You can go back into my Twitch archive and watch me playing early access Power Wash Simulator. And people are agreeing with me, but I used to say, I was saying months ago, I was saying last year when we were first playing it, this is going to be in the Game of the Year conversation. And people were laughing at me. Ain't nobody laughing now because people are realizing that as silly as it is, that game scratches an itch that a lot of people didn't realize they knew needed
no one's
scratching.
laughing now because they still aren't paying attention to Power Wash Simulator. Gary.
What internet are you on, Barrett? Are you kidding me? Power Wash Simulator is popping off.
Gary, do we need to do a pizza bet on like how many sites at the end of the year are going to talk about?
You've
Power
got
Wash?
Big time influencers like Alana Pierce out there talking about
it.
How
An
it's
outlet that's giving out Game of the Year awards or anything, Gary? I'm talking about outlets. Or is anybody going to be giving Power Wash Simulator any sort of Game of the Year awards?
If you listen to what I said, Barrett, I very carefully crafted my statement. It's going to be in the. It's going to be in the conversation. It's going to be
because Gary is
going to
saying
be in the
it
Twitter
is in the
conversation. You mean? Okay, so it's going to be last year's Forza, right? Where all the fans are talking about it, but it doesn't get nominated.
I think you are going to see it on some shortlists. I think you're going to see it. Like everybody knows. Like I was saying this also months ago. Elden Ring's going to clean up. We know that. Maybe Ragnarok it can come in late and do something if it's even more spectacular than people hope it's going to be. But Ragnarok and Elden Ring are going to clean up, right? We know that. But I'm talking about at least if we're doing shortlists, when people are doing their like top 10 games of the year, Power Wash is going to feature on a lot of lists. And I think you're going to see it take some category specific awards as well. It scratches an itch that very, very few other games can scratch. It's so chill. It's a vibe. It's a game to kick back and relax in a way that very other few games can make you chill. I stand by every word that I say about Power Wash Simulator.
I like this energy, Gary. I like this.
And in terms of things that are a little less well, because again, everyone, now that it's on Game Pass, it's got a lot more exposure than back when it was only in early access. But a couple of titles that I've been loving on PC that are much more obscure, I think, and I'm really, really hoping that they will find their way to Xbox, specifically on Game Pass. I got to give a shout out to Ultimate Epic Battle Simulator 2, which is absolutely the most insane fun I have had with a game all year. I don't know if either of you two have played it, but I was streaming it a lot. It's an amazing 3D open world battle simulator. Like if you ever wanted to know who would win in a battle between like 1 million Spartan warriors and 50,000 Sherman tanks, and you know what, Chuck Norris and John Wick in there as well for good measure, it will simulate that for you with a remarkable degree of fidelity. Massive battles. And it's so fun. Every time I played it, I'm just hooting and hollering. It's so silly. There's actually an incredible amount of like really impressive physics programming going on under the hood, because when you've got 1 million, Persian warriors fighting 1 million ducks, yes, you could do that as well. It simulates it really, really impressively. And it's so much fun. You can do these crazy combinations of war, of kind of army on army combat from all across history, from medieval times all the way up to World War II. It's still only in early access. They're adding new features all the time. Ultimate Epic Battle Simulator 2 is going to be the next Power Wash. I'll be back here this time next year saying, I was into that game in early access. Go pull the videotape. Now everyone's going on about it. I was here telling you that it was cool. before too many other people have heard about it. The other one I want to give a quick shout out to, and this one is like anyone who's cool knows that this isn't really under the table. Everyone really knows about this game, but I really want to see it come to console platforms. I really want to see it come to Game Pass. There's a little game out there, maybe you heard about it, called Vampire Survivors. This game kicks ass. It's a little $3 game on Steam. It was a one man development team. Vampire Survivors is one of the most addictive games out there. It is putting much bigger games to shame, and it's kicking ass on Steam right now. Really, really popular on PC. Let me just click on it here right now. It's like, overwhelmingly positive reviews. Everyone's loving it. I'm really, really hoping that we will get to see that come to Xbox, hopefully on Game Pass. So much fun.
Great polls there, Gary. And Gary, I want you to know, as your gaming son, as your homeboy, as your friend, you are a trendsetter, Gary. Don't let the internet tell you different. You trendset, Gary, okay? People jumped on Power Wash Simulator because of you, my guy. Always remember that. I got some great polls as well that I want to share with everybody because I know Gary's going to get excited. Sniper Elite 5. I really want everybody to play Sniper Elite 5. This is such a great game. And the elevation of adding campaign co-op where a friend can jump in and play with you. The idea that you can be invaded by another person who's now trying to snipe you and slow down your progression in the campaign is an absolute blast. I mean, the game is gorgeous. The slow-mo sniper shots of shooting through somebody's, testicles, for a nice word out of that one, through their head, whatever you want to call it. It's a blast. And I really love Sniper Elite 5. I mean, I've been a big fan of Sniper Elite since I got to try it, I think, thanks to Game Pass or just on Xbox, either 3 or 4. Shout out to that deal back in the day. And then, of course, they also have the zombie editions as well if you want to play those games. I think this is a blast game, and it is a ton of fun. And the idea of being able to play a co-op should invite a lot of people to go check it out because it is not as slow and methodical as you would think. You can definitely pick up the pace and make it into your crazy Rambo dream that you wanted to. And it's a fun time. It's a really great time.
Those Sniper Elite games, I mean, we don't think about them on the same level as like Call of Duty and like the real AAA games. But listen, they're up to the 5th game in the series now, right? They're quietly kind of kicking ass, making money. They keep the series going. They're up to the 5th installment now. They're so much fun. I've been playing through the campaign in co-op mode with a friend of mine. It's a ton of fun, and like you said, shooting Nazis through the testicles in that slow motion vision, it never gets old.
Never.
You
Never.
can actually set a slider in the game's options. Like, how often do you want to see the slow-mo X-ray? Do you want to see it never? Do you want to see it some of the time? Do you want to see it a lot? Or do you want to see it like every single time? I have it set on every single time because it never gets old.
That's the right way of looking at it there, Gary. Another one I have is Nobody Saves the World. Yeah. This is a game that I want a lot of people to remember. I know it came out and it kind of went by. People enjoyed it. Some people loved it. Some people didn't even give it a try. And when you're looking for games to check out, especially on Game Pass, you should be jumping into Nobody Saves the World. This is an awesome dungeon crawler hack and slash. And I love what they did. And Miles, you can help me with this. How they blended everything, right? Where you are a certain character, but you can blend the moves of other characters as you progress through. And I really loved the balance of that. And you can also play it co-op as well. And it's challenging. It's fun. We actually got to interview the developers. And while I was playing, there was a certain dungeon that I just couldn't comprehend how to beat it. And they laughed and they giggled. They said, oh, this is a fun challenge. Try this, right? And this mix and match of a certain character with another character's moveset will help you do this. And I really love what they did with Nobody Saves the World. I love the art style, the color. This is from the team who made Guacamelee, so you know it's going to be colorful and cool. But I love this hack and slash dungeon crawler right here.
Yeah, this is, this studio has a lot of renowned projects. Guacamelee, a huge one for them. But I would say Nobody Saves the World is the best thing that they've done. And I hope this is one that is in those Game of the Year conversations because it is such an inventive, cool game. You touch on the ability to transform into all of these different enemies to progress. You get dumb ones where you turn into an egg and you're like, why would I ever turn into an egg? I can just roll. And then you'll be out in the open Zelda-like world. You'll find a nest. Chicken comes and lays on you. You're like, oh, dang. Okay, there's a purpose. Or you'll be a horse and you'll find a female horse and you'll romance this horse character. And if you go up and talk to that horse in any other form, nothing happens. You have no idea that this even exists. And then if you happen to be a horse and engage with this horse, you can complete this quest line. And it's so fun, so quirky. And then the combat and the strategy, being able to synergize moves and having to understand strengths and weaknesses of different elemental attacks. It's so good. It's probably the best Zelda-like that I've played in a long, long time. If you love like A Link to the Past, that top-down action-oriented adventure game, check out Nobody Saves the World. And like you said, hardly anyone really that I know personally played it, and it's such a bummer because it's so good.
So good. Another one that I know Barrett's going to get out of his seat for. This is the definition of the one more try video game, and that's Ollie Ollie World. What an awesome video game to come out this year. An absolute blast. I mean, I didn't think I was into these games until I tried Trials, and it became the one more try, one more try.
Mm.
And to give Ollie Ollie World the try for the first time ever, I've never played the series or the franchise, and to get lost in creating my own character that I modeled after Bob's Burgers, right? It's Bob from Bob's Burgers. And to be in this colorful pastel world and to be shredding the gnar and to crash on the track and be like, oh, I got that one more try. I couldn't put this game down. And a big shout out to the soundtrack, which will just have you nodding your head and lost for hours in it. This game is so much fun, and this is a must try. If you're into games like Trials Evolution and you just want that one more try on the track to either elevate your score or just to get through it, this is a game that you got to be playing. Baird, am I right on that one?
Yeah, I thought it was really fantastic. I really only played, I think, the first Ollie Ollie for a little bit, and they were very hardcore, those first two, about how perfect your run needed to be. If you messed something up, like that was it. You had to restart, and this one is much more accessible, much more like if you just want to kind of chill and skate through it and just get through the levels and have a fun time continuing your kind of what's the word that I'm looking for? Multipliers and stuff like that. Like you can do that, but then they add challenges for each level if you want that level of challenge that the original Ollie Ollie games had. And it's definitely like a different art style and different vibe. They leaned really into the weird with this one, which I think helps them kind of stand out amongst all of the noise when it comes to smaller games, right? And so yeah, I think it's definitely worth picking up. I haven't thought about it much since I've played it though, Mike. I will say that.
Oh, okay.
And, but it definitely, you're right with the Trials comparison. It definitely reminds me a lot of Trials, of just, I'm going to play this for 10 minutes and just focus on like 2 or 3 levels and just put it down and maybe come back to it in a couple months,
I got a couple more fun ones because I want to make sure we shine the light on some of these awesome games that people might have forgotten about or didn't get to play. And another one that was on Phil Spencer's list from that awesome icebreaker, his last game he played was Road 96. And this is a really cool choose your own adventure game. If you are having a fun time with As Dusk Falls that was just released, don't forget we did a spoiler cast, youtube.com/KindaFunnyGames on your Xcast feed. We got the set down with Interior Night CEO Caroline Marshall and talk about that. But another awesome choose your own adventure game, a narrative driven game. And this one's kind of different, right? So this one is almost like a roguelike where your goal is to get out of the country and make it to the border, but there's opportunities for you to kind of fail and die as that character, and you'll restart the game as a new character. And so you can beat this game in a matter of about an hour to 2 hours if you make the right choices and you build off of what you learned. But what I really found interesting was like the idea of like blending the genres, like what we talk about with other games, of blending this roguelike feel where you might die here on this playthrough and have to restart and go somewhere different with it. And each time you do, you're a new character, you kind of have a new story going on. And it's really, really interesting and different, something I haven't experienced in the choose your own adventure games. And I thought this is a good one, especially building off of As Dusk Falls. This is a game you should check out if you like it a lot. And then one to get Miles in the conversation, because Miles, I know, will help me out with this one. It's come out this week, and I know it's massive because it's free to play and people are talking about it, but it is Multiverses. You got to play this game right now. This game is a blast, Miles. I'm having so much fun. I didn't think I would like it, but every time I turn it on, I'm like one step closer again to swiping the card and buying a new character. Of course, you can earn in-game currency. You will get characters unlocked without having to buy it, but everybody knows I have a problem with microtransactions and love swiping the card, but it is a really, really good game. I didn't think I would like it as much as I do, but I like how it's a little bit different from the Smash Bros. It feels different, right? It is similar in the vein, but you'll feel it. It doesn't feel quite like Smash Bros. And the idea that they really focused heavily on 2v2 combat, I thought was really, really cool and different, right? Unique in the space of there's 4 players, you can play free for all like you like, but you should check it out with 2v2s and play with your friends and check out the different characters and how there's support roles and there's brawlers and bruisers and stuff like that. I thought that was pretty cool. I like that a lot there, Miles.
Yeah, I don't mind a good sweaty 1v1 competitive match. I've had plenty in my day, but I do love that Multiverses leans into that 2v2 because you can do 2v2 in Smash, but it wasn't ever a focus. The game wasn't built around that. But with support classes in Multiverses who have moves that are designed to save your teammates from death, there's a lot of care and attention built into 2v2 matches, and it makes them so dynamic, so wild. And the beauty of WB's just huge web, when you start thinking about the potential, we have Lord of the Rings, we have Harry Potter, we have a bunch of horror properties, we have so much possibilities. Even as it stands, in its open beta, you can be LeBron James and you can kill Superman. That is a game that exists in this day and age right now, and you can play it for free. Or you can be Bugs Bunny and you can I'm trying to think of the ridiculous, but you can kill all of these ridiculous characters, and that's the beauty of a platform fighter. Is that's the reason for me that Fortnite has had this resurgence in my friend group, is because of the stupid possibilities, because of all these dumb licenses coming together that should never be together, and just embracing it and just making that this beloved free-to-play experience. And I think that's what Multiverses does really well. So if you haven't checked it out, it's well worth checking out. They'll be doing rotating characters. I have the baller edition that has all the character tickets and like the premium toast thing, so I don't have to worry about the character unlocks per se. But yeah, really, really impressed with that experience right now.
I'm going to go with one final one, and then I want to kick it over to you guys to see if we can clean it up and get any other ones that you have. Fire Girl, Hack and Splash Rescue. If you have not checked this game out, if you do not know about this game, this is a game you should put on your radar. It is a really cool 2D platformer. It's like it feels like Metal Slug back in the day, where you're running around and you're aiming your fire gun at certain pieces of the fire. It's got this awesome pixel art style. It's really, really unique and cool. And it is a ton of fun. This is a game I lost a lot of time to this year, just running around these different cool levels, rescuing people out of the burning buildings, putting out the fires, and just kind of having fun running around and platforming using the tools that you have at your side. This is a really, really dope game that I want more people to check out, because I was surprised at how much I liked it. And like I said, if you like games like Metal Slug back in the day, Contra, you're going to like this kind of game. But Gary and Miles, I'll kick it to you guys, because I know Barrett has one I want him to share. But do you two have any final games that you'd recommend that people might have missed this year for 2022?
Trying to think what else I've played that is like on the obscure side. I mean, what was the other thing I was saying? Because I'm looking at something like Neon White, but everyone knows about Neon White, right? Like it's like what are the kind of like the real hipster games that I'm playing and no one else is?
Neon White is not on Xbox, correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
PC and Switch.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I imagine especially with Annapurna and how they've been doing other things, I imagine that'll come to other consoles.
And Stray.
I don't know as much about Stray, because from what I remember from the credits, I feel like PlayStation helped a lot with funding that game. So I don't know.
One I will throw in, because it just showed up on on Game Pass, and it's an older game, but it may well be in my top 10 games of all time. Is Inside. What a game!
Oh yeah,
what an incredible game!
What an incredible game. Do you have any couple more gems to throw out before we move on?
Yeah, Windjammers 2. I was hoping that game would have more of a splash and an impact. It's this kind of 1v1 intense frisbee golf volleyball fusion game. So it's simple controls. There's some clever kind of back and forth with it, but I love it. It's one of those games that, when we're bored late at night and we're not sure what to play, we'll always squeeze in a couple rounds of Windjammers, because it's really easy to pick up and play, but there's a lot of nuance between characters. And again, it's kind of like playing air hockey with friends, like that feeling of just one more match. You lose and you want to do one more. So Windjammers 2, another great one, and I think it's still on Game Pass as well. So if you haven't checked it out, you want something light, breezy, Windjammers 2, baby. Let's go.
Play that game with me, Miles. It's so cool. It's so much fun. I have no one to play it with, and I'm also kind of bad, so like I'm always embarrassed to play it, but play that with me, Miles, because I want to play that. Let's do that. Let's write that down. Of course, our director and producer on the ones and twos, Barrett, he wrote down the game. Barrett, what would you recommend people check out?
I want people to check out, and it's on Game Pass, a game that Kevin and I played at a GDC event one night called Infernex. Definitely an old school inspired game. Me being a young kid, it reminded me of Shovel Knight was the quick thing that I remembered. But definitely a little bit Souls inspired, also with like choices coming with it. The little demo that Kevin and I played, like we ran into this like sick homeless man. He was like, "Oh, please help me," and you can like either help him or he's like, "Kill me," and it's like, "No, I don't want to kill you, but I'll help you," or you can kill him. And if you try to help him instead of killing him, he turns into this big gross monster, and then you have like this secret boss fight immediately from the beginning of the game, from what we saw. And so I really think it's something cool that I personally want to play more of. I never got through it all, but it's just like it's one of those cool darlings that I think may have gotten overlooked on Game Pass. So definitely check out Infernex.
Looks like
I like
Castlevania 2 almost.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
That's
like
a
a
great
fusion
poll.
of Castlevania 2 and Legend of Zelda 2. Kind of this kind of sort of open world, 2D side scrolling. Killer soundtrack. Soundtrack is so good. And the pixel art is also incredible. A lot of deep, gross gore, a lot of disgusting, kind of Bloodborne inspired monsters and monstrosities. But yeah, Infernex, good pull. That game is so good.
I think we may have
Did we
lost
lose-
Mike in
I
the
think we might have lost
mountains.
Mike.
Yeah, he's frozen.
His video's gone.
Yep. Yeah. Oh no. Now
Oh,
he's completely gone. Let's see. He went back to waiting room. Now he's back here. Maybe his computer crashed.
He's
There
back,
he
he's
is.
back.
He's back, everybody.
Back from the ending of this show. We got a couple of small ones before we get out of here. Of course, we want to highlight a really awesome feature coming your way and available now for Xbox insiders on that insider ring right now. And it's a dream feature coming over to the Xbox right now. Discord is now available on Xbox. The highly requested and dreamt of feature of using Discord on console and being able to join your friends on Discord calls and voice channels is now available for Xbox insiders to try and soon available for all. Now, it does take a little bit to set up. Nothing too crazy, but there's a little bit of steps involved. You got to connect your Xbox console with your phone that has the Discord app and the Xbox app. Connecting it, then you're going to set up a two-way link, and then your Xbox account and your Xbox will turn on, and you're going to have fun with Discord. But really, all you need to know is you're going to now be able to chat with your friends on Discord calls and in their Discord voice channels, which is really, really special. This is something for me, someone who has really migrated heavy onto the PC side, right? Where me and my friends always are on a Discord call. We still play Xbox games. We never use the Xbox party system. This is special because I've lost friends in the process. I'm thinking about you, Earl the Squirrel, right now. Earl always wants to play games with me and my friends. I say, okay, we can do that, but we're on Discord. And Earl has no idea what Discord is. He just begs us to be in an Xbox party chat. I tell him we don't do that anymore. You need to be on Discord. And the opportunity now that Xbox and Discord are coming together to make this feature available for everyone and make it, I know I made it sound kind of hard, but it is really easy. Windows Gaming Central actually has a great video tutorial that I watched last night on how to set it up. It's really, really awesome and something special, especially in the age of crossplay that we all have with all the different consoles and ecosystems. Miles, you happy about this?
We're getting so close to the unified dream, Mike. And I know, yeah, you are a Discord purist, a little bit of a Discord snob,
you're
I would
that
say.
Xbox party chat guy.
Yeah, you know, we've played some stuff together, and I've had to use my Xbox wireless headset, dual sync it to my PC and my console to join your Discord chat. You know, so it's nice to have an option. Like you said, it's, in my opinion, a little convoluted. It feels a little bit like something Nintendo would do for voice chat with linking all of these different apps. But that being said, this is such a great start. And I'm playing more.
Nintendo would have you only have an app on your phone, Miles. That's what they would do. They would
True,
have
and
an
you'd
app on
have to
your
buy a
phone.
dongle included with Halo Infinite to be able to do this. But that being said, as I play with more PC folks, more PlayStation folks, having this having this option is going to be huge. What I really want is to be able to sync my friends list on Xbox with my friends list on Discord, and then go natively from the Xbox console and say, invite to Discord. Like, that's what I want them to work towards. I hope that is the end goal. And once we get there, we're living the dream, baby. No complaints from me.
You're so right, Miles. That my dream, the end goal is to have a native Discord app with all of the voice channels, all of the different communities that I'm in, because I still want to be able to use the text channels, right? I want to be involved in that community. And I think it is so awesome, especially how many people have done that. Gary, you remember back in the day, people were using TeamSpeak back in the day. I think they still
TeamSpeak.
do.
yeah.
I remember
was the thing.
Ventrilo.
Yeah.
Remember Ventrilo even before
yeah.
TeamSpeak?
Exactly.
Back in the days, how we used to do our Warcraft raids. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. And Gary, you're big on Discord, so I know you're pumped about this, right?
So I think it's a step in the right direction. I was very excited when I first saw the news. I got a little bit excited when I saw exactly how the implementation works. I think once they get it like fully onboarded onto the console, that's going to be a lot easier. Because right now the implementation is not terribly difficult to what I already do. Like if I'm upstairs in the living room on my Xbox, like you said, I can't remember the last time I did voice chat over like the built-in Xbox solution like party chat or in-game voice chat. Everyone's on Discord. Discord is the voice chat solution for gamers, right? There's nothing that even comes close. It's what we're using right now to make this podcast. And on the PC side, it's what everybody uses. And it is a pretty good app. When I play on Xbox, I don't expect to hook up with you on Xbox voice chat. We're going to use Discord. And I have the Xbox headset that allows input from two sources, right? So I've got the Xbox audio coming through the headset, and I've also got Bluetooth to my phone is giving me the Discord audio, and I can mix it the way that I want.
Yes.
And so what Xbox is doing right now is kind of like basically that, but you don't need the dual input headset. But I think when this will really get interesting is when it is just baked all the way into the Xbox hardware without the need to use your phone or any additional equipment at all. But it is definitely a step in the right direction.
Love that. Let's end the show with something that people are going to say what, Mike, don't do that. But I want to give a shout out right now to the Xbox team and this storefront. This is something as an Xbox gamer, you all know over the years, I've always dreamt of owning a bunch of Xbox merch, right? That was my always dream. I wanted to go to school in a t-shirt or a sweatshirt. And back in the day, they didn't really have that, right? And so over the years, I want to give credit to the Xbox store team for really elevating it. And so recently, I got an email from the Xbox team of like, hey, here's your spam folder. Check this out. They have a full summer camping line right now, the camper collection. Bear Courtney, and of course, my gaming dad, who should be making sure I don't purchase dumb things.
Oh, no,
I want you
Mike.
to know, if you scroll down, I'm about
don't.
to buy this Xbox camper folding chair and the Xbox camper hammock right now because I want these so
Mike,
bad every
stop
day.
it.
Actually,
I mean, this
honestly,
is
I'm
basically
impressed.
the Snowbike Mike store. What
Yeah.
I'm looking at right
I'm
here.
impressed by how the hammock is actually cheaper than the folding chair. The hammock's only $60. That's not a bad price for a hammock.
Yes.
I feel like, especially like with the Xbox branding on top of that, not terrible. But even Mike, I like this hat, this 5-panel hat. Honestly, kind of hot. I like
Thank you, Bear.
the shorts, the camper shorts.
I like the
I'm
shorts. I
honestly-
like the short. I could see myself getting a pair of the shorts.
Okay. See, and
Even
this
the
is always my
anorak
dream.
and the sphere tee. I'm Mike. This is
I'm about to go on a
This is a
shopping
good
spree right
summer
now when we end this podcast.
I like the
everybody.
whole.
Honestly,
I like the whole
black pair
ABXY thing. That's cool.
Yeah.
You like that, Gary? You like that?
Yeah,
Okay.
why not?
And
Yeah.
they're trying to make they're trying to make it a thing to go after a square, circle, X triangle.
The sacred symbols. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really interesting because this has always been my dream, right? And I think now if you came into my closet, you would see me own a lot of video game related things, right? Whether it be graphic tees or the PlayStation or Xbox branded stuff. But yeah, I just wanted to give a shout out because I'm looking over right now and Miles sees it in my eyes. I'm about to swipe this credit card fast right now, everybody. But that will be a great way to make you smile at the end of this podcast. Don't forget, we are now moving the KindaFunny Xcast to record on Tuesday afternoons, which means we will post on Wednesdays moving forward. So you're going to get a little brief time with this podcast before we hit you with another one. And of course, both of my gaming dads will be back here in the podcast. But I got to give a big thank you to my number one in my Rolodex, my only one in my Rolodex, who always comes and saves the day, my good friend Miles Dompier from Windows Gaming Central. Miles, you always come and save the day. And I know the best friends are always there to save your day. Where can everybody find you? What dope stuff are you creating right now?
Always love chatting with you, dude. Yeah, I'm happy, and honored to be the number one in your Rolodex. If you want to check out what I'm working on, you can find me on Twitter at Miles Dompier and most of my work over at WindowsCentral.com or YouTube.com/Windows Central Gaming.
Love that, Miles. Gary, did you have a good day? It's Friday. What are you going to do this weekend?
I think I'm going to try and play some games. I think we're going to try and finish Stray. I want to play a little bit more of that Hot Wheels DLC, and I might try to work through some of the other titles on the backlog as well.
Love that, Gary. I hope you have a ton of fun. On behalf of Barrett Courtney, our director and producer, a missing Paris Lily, and these two right here on the panel, your guys, Snowbike Mike, saying thank you for tuning in and supporting and listening to another awesome week of the Kinda Funny Xcast. We'll be back on Wednesday for your watching and listening pleasure. See you later, everybody.